A woman in a trench coat entered a Houston megachurch. If you have the clip, megachurch of celebrity pastor Joel Osteen, and started shooting Sunday afternoon, was killed by 2 off-duty officers. They added a young child with a woman, was critically hurt, and another man nearby was wounded. Houston Police Chief Troy Finner said the woman entered a church with a long gun and a backpack shortly before 2 p.m. on Sunday, accompanied by a child about 4 or 5 years old. He said the child was in critical condition after being taken to the hospital. The shooting happened between services at mega church that is regularly attended by 45,000 people on a weekly basis, making it the third largest mega church in U.S. According to Harvard Institute for Religion, Osteen televised sermons reach roughly 100 countries. So, Vinny, what happened here with the story that we're not hearing about?
Well, okay, so
you also have this story on page 23.
That's
right?
where you're going.
And I'll let you go.
Go ahead, Vin.
I'm saying, Adam, if you can after this, I'll let you read it because I want people to understand this. This person is a migrant from El Salvador. 36-year-old Janice Moreno, criminal long history dating back to 2005. She had a Free Palestine sticker on the gun, identified as transgender, anti-Semitic material found in her apartment. She also goes as Jeffrey Escalante Moreno. And I want to tell everybody this. We have an epidemic happening in this country that nobody's really talking about, especially the mainstream media, that is the epidemic of trans mass shooters. Okay, it keeps happening. Nobody keeps talking about it. The mainstream media covers it up. They won't let us see their manifestos. We know that these people have mental issues. Okay, and by the way, a lot of these manifestos say that they hate straight people. This person said that they hate Christians. And just to go down this list, guys, Colorado Springs shooter. Non-binary, Nashville school shooter, trans, Aberdeen shooter, trans, Denver school shooter, trans, Iowa school shooter, trans/gender fluid, Lakewood shooter, trans. And I have a message, okay, for the trans community. Now your group has given us the right to label, you could label us transphobic. And we're not phobic because you identify as a girl or a guy. You're shooting innocent people, innocent kids. Now I am transphobic. I'm phobic. I'm scared because you guys are going into church and shooting up kids and people. And it's like, Pat, why isn't anybody talking about it? That's an issue. And going back to mental health. Remember how we talked about that the mother that just got in trouble for the Colorado
Michigan
guy, Michigan. It's like, when are we going to stop with all this? Oh, people's feelings and they're living their truth. No, it's a mental health issue. That's what we have to deal with because when is it going to stop? Notice how this isn't nobody's talking about this. We're talking about it. I understand the Super Bowl happened and this bill is happening, but that's the thing. It's an epidemic of just trans shooters shooting
Tom,
people left and right. Nothing's happening.
Tom.
So there's a lot of confusion that was out here, and there's a couple different reports that said, I guess the coroner said that it was a biological female, but regardless, the things she's writing, the things she's doing, it shows that it's not about guns in this country, and everybody's going to put the comments up. Here he comes. But it's about mental health and about getting help to people and having early warning systems and having a place to turn. And until we get back to that, and we've talked about this here on the podcast before, and by the way, RFK talked about it, that way back in history when we decided to close our mental health hospitals, which were built by the community for the communities so that there is a place where you could get help for people, and if permanent hospitalization was required because they were just permanently had psychological condition that they couldn't be out in real society, we had a place for them. Out in Los Angeles, when I grew up, it was out in Camarillo. There's a very elaborate mental health hospital. It was in Camarillo, California. And right now, we're in a state of denial about mental health. Nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to, because if you talk about mental health, there's something to point at and it demands a solution, Pat. It demands a solution. And if you ignore it, you can keep blaming everybody else and you can fan the flames. And this is just horrifying that this person with this condition, goes into a church to commit crime, and then you see all these things that were written. She had broken up with her husband. She wrote a bunch of inflammatory things about his faith, but everybody agrees this person, to use a very common term, it's not very respectful, had a major screw loose, and there were probably people in her life that knew about it and could have gotten help to her. That's the problem. We need to deal with mental health and get systems and solutions so that, like, I call 911, somebody breaking into my house. Who do I call to get help for someone that I can see needs it before they hurt somebody else?
And that's going deep. And Adam, I know you want to go. That, Tom, and I get it. That's the mental heart part of like people warning, like, I'm gonna kill, or I'm hearing voices. Let's strip it down.
And everybody else fanning the flames for other purposes while ignoring it.
100%. And then, well, the initial mental health is you're a female and you think that you're a man. Let's just start there. Let's address that instead of just saying, live your no, hey guys, don't, you're transphobic. No. You think in here that you're somebody else. I want you to get help. I think you need to talk to somebody to figure it out, not just go, okay, you are what you are and everybody else has to walk around and pretend and live in your fantasy. I'm not living in that fantasy.
Fully agree with you, Vinny. Note to self, note to the community, the doctor community, the medical community, less transitions, more therapy. It's become the epidemic of our time, where mental health, anxiety, isolation, COVID exacerbated the problem. It got even worse, but social media amplifies it even more. And you get someone like this that gets access to a gun that is not clearly mentally fit, speaking of actual mental fitness, to be anywhere near around a gun. This person gets access to this. They decide to go to Lakewood Church, the biggest church in the country, right? Joel Osteen, and just start shooting innocent people. You know how I feel about these school shootings or church shootings. It's disgusting. It's horrible. It's weak. It's weak people that do this, and it needs to be rectified. Our RFK has talked about this. If there's anybody that knows about gun violence, he lost his father and his uncle, JFK, to gun violence. And more therapy, less trans.
I believe in transitions. I'd like to transition people with mental health issues and find out how many of them can be transitioned back to being members of society who can coexist with the rest of us in a safe manner.
And shout out to the 2 off-duty officers that were there that shot and killed him. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see attendance this weekend. I'd like to see, I'm curious to know, they get 45,000. I'd like to know how many people will attend this weekend to a Lakewood church. That's the number I'm interested in.
You know what?
Because will the number go to 48,000 or will the number go to 38,000? Will the cause, the event cause fear in parents to not bring their kids back, or will it cause, even higher faith to increase the amount of people coming back? Will it increase the number of attendees to bring in their firearm with them? Will it go from 1% of the attendees to 3% to 5%? I'm interested in data like that on what's going to happen with the people who are going back to the church, because sometimes when this happens, man, it gets us to, naturally, especially if you got kids, the first thing you're thinking about is, hey, I'm going to protect my kids, whatever I can. I'm curious what happened.
I think that's a great point, and I believe that this will galvanize that congregation, and I think more people than ever will show up to that church and be there for their people.
Some of you guys have been asking about PBD Podcast gear. We finally have it. Here's your PBD Podcast gear you were asking about. That mug, if you order today, the PBD Podcast hat or the PBD Podcast shirt combined together, you get the mug for free on the house. We'll send it over to you. And remember, if supply you order over $70, shipping is free. And this mug you see me holding right now, when you put a hot coffee or hot tea or hot water in it, it turns into the PBD Podcast colors that we got. So if you're at the office working, if you want to go brag about the fact that you listen to content and you can entertain opposing ideas and see it could spark a conversation with others, go get yourself the hat, the shirt, and we'll send a mug over to you.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.